Welcome in, Hawks fans. Your boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for another Believe in Hawks episode. The losing streak continues in Atlanta, 7 in a row now. I believe that is the longest losing streak they've had since the 2019 season, I believe. Hawks lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers, 137-115. In really this episode, guys, obviously we're going to talk about the game, but there's also, more news that came out when it came to Bogdanovich and Trae rumors, so we'll get into that as well. Obviously, with both of them not playing, it seems like their tenures in Atlanta are coming to an end within the next 7 days. So I'll obviously get into that a little bit later in the show, but obviously they played, lost another game. We had some impressive performances. Risacher, really impressive tonight. I got to talk about him. Trae Young, snubbed from the All-Star game. Tonight's performance may have not warranted, or maybe some people who think Trae shouldn't be an All-Star probably looks at the performance and says, oh, this is why. But I think a lot of people were upset tonight about Trae Young not making the All-Star game, so we'll talk about that in my thoughts. But overall, I mean, this is a very just all over the place kind of a game, all over the place kind of an episode. So we're going to get into all that and Believe in Hawks, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in for another episode. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the episode. Like the video as well. And audio listeners, remember, it's available on any audio platforms available to the masses. If you want to follow and keep up with Believe in Hawks on my YouTube or through audio. Available to all y'all. So appreciate you guys for all the support. And I know I put a lot of content this week because we've had a lot of Hawks news, and I expect that to probably continue moving into the trade deadline. But yeah, so like tonight, Hawks lose 137-115. I mean, the problems that are evident, especially with the absence of Bogey and Clint and the injuries that we've had to Jalen and Kobe and all everybody, it's just adamant with this team right now. They don't have enough bucket getters right now. And especially depending on the matchup, the defense isn't good enough. So that kind of puts you in a tough bind. Also, the Hawks have tied a record, I believe, for the most games shooting below 30% from three with 3 in a row. I don't think any team has actually done that often. It's kind of crazy to think about, but shooting below 30%, 4 straight games in a row, shooting below 30% from 3, minimum 35 field goal attempts. Hawks are just shooting the ball terribly right now. And it's just they're not getting what they need. They're not getting what they need to win these games. And it's evident, especially when you go against one of the best teams in the league in Cleveland, it's going to become more evident. It's funny. I've said before, the toughest task for a journalist that covers a team, podcast host, whatever you do, writing for the team, whatever. Covering a team that loses is tough because it's like every time they lose, especially if it's multiple losing streaks, it's like, well, what am I going to tell them today? Right. And, for me through this stretch, young guys are playing. Some young guys had some good games tonight. So obviously happy about that. Obviously, we know about the injury news to Jalen, him being done for the year and how that's changed the trajectory of the season. We obviously know about the incoming trade rumors that are happening as well. But, I mean, especially the last 2 games where the Hawks fought and they were close, this game felt like the first, we it's funny, 2-3 months ago, this team beat Cleveland twice, beat them by double digits both times. And now it's like it's flipped. Cleveland has, I think, stayed consistent. I've stayed the same. We've just gotten worse. And it reflects in what we showed tonight. I mean, it's tough. I'm sure for a lot of fans, it's tough watching the team right now in the condition it's in. I mean, people are saying the Hawks need that trade bump bad. They need something, some spark, something. They just need something. It's like, give me something I could just feed off of, and then let's just see what happens. And sometimes when you get a trade, you get some fresh bodies in there, and in a situation like that, you can come back and say, okay, let's see how we mesh with the new guys. So we'll see what that entails. But like I mentioned, like there are some positives to take away from the game. Risacher had 30 points tonight. Looked fantastic. 30 points in 25 minutes, 11-14 from the field, 5 of 6 from 3. I mean, Risacher was great tonight. I mean, he attacked the rim, great touch around the rim, great finishing. Shot looked really good tonight, looked comfortable. Didn't seem like he rushed a shot. Just really looked impressive tonight. I mean, this is probably his. I mean, some people may think this is a better performance than the one he had against the Knicks when he scored 32. This is easily a top 5 rookie performance, I think, this year as well. Risacher really has stepped up in this game and gave them what they needed. It's just, again, they didn't get it from everybody else. And so, you know, the Risacher we saw tonight is what the Hawks think Risacher can be long term. Like, this Risacher, if you watch the game, is what they think Risacher can become. The skills that they see from him. When he played very aggressive tonight. He played very confident tonight. It showed. He didn't seem out of control. He seemed under control. And I think that's just what you want to see from a guy like him. And if he plays like this the rest of the year, I mean, you're going to feel much better about that first pick. I mean, I know a lot of people have crapped on him for being the first pick. Why did the Hawks take him with the first pick in their draft? Why didn't they take Alex Sarr? Why didn't they take someone else? I've mentioned this on multiple occasions. No pick from the top 3 has had this, oh my God, season. None of them. So any player that we would have drafted would have not changed the trajectory of this team. You could make an argument, oh, Sarr could have been better for particular reasons, like the center spot or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're still down one wing. You're still down Jalen Johnson, and then you still don't have a Risacher, so it's DeAndre Hunter and Big Krejci as your wings, and that's what you got. So, like, again, either, like, you're going to have a weakness somewhere if you go with either one. They just want to strengthen the wing position because they felt like we could handle having Clint and Okongwu as their centers than having Sarr or Okongwu as their centers. But then if Jalen goes down or someone goes down, we have no wings outside of DeAndre Hunter and Big Krejci. But Risacher, I mean, a lot of people are going to be having their eyes on him to see how he grows throughout the rest of the season, come back from that injury and just getting himself right. I mean, if he can see, like I say, if he's able to do this consistently, that's going to be the main thing with Risacher. If he could do this consistently, that's what's going to really, I think, make Hawks fans feel really good about him going into year 2. And again, that's going to make them say, hey, Risacher comes back next year. He gets another year of growth, another year of improving his game, another year of consistency. What could Risacher be in year 2? And like I said, tonight was a glimpse of that. And I think if you're the Hawks, you're probably really happy with what you saw, especially since you lean more into the development right now of your team with the young guys playing like him and Muhammad Ye. So really, really happy with Risacher tonight. Really impressive performance for him. Got to give love to the Rook for playing the way he played tonight. Like I said, and in a game where, again, if the Hawks were able to get other offensive efforts, I mean, we would have been maybe looking at this game different, saying, man, Risacher, he really played well. 30-point ball game against Cleveland. Can't hate it. And he had a perfect first half. He had 20 points, 7-7 from the field. So he was perfect in the first half. Like, he was playing really good basketball. He scored 10 straight points at one point in this game. 10 straight. Like, that was really impressive. I mean, both him and Hunter had really good games tonight. But really, really impressive from Risacher just to show that ability, show that level of play. So really, really happy with what he gave. The rest of the guys, like I said, Hunter had 25 points. I believe he had a stretch where he scored 7, 8, 9 points straight. So they both had stretches tonight where they both just said, all right, let me get out of the way, let me score, and try to keep the Hawks just within a reasonable distance of the Cavs. He had 25 tonight. I mean, him and Risacher had 55 between the two of them. So from your small forward position, you got 55 points. So you were happy with that. Very happy with that, I would say. Some of you might not be. There's people out there who will hate it. That's just how people are. But really happy with both of their performances tonight. Hunter's still struggling from the 3-point line, but went 12 of 12 from the free throw line. So he got fouled, attacked the rim, got free throws, found different ways to get baskets, which you got to do, which DeAndre is capable of doing. And so really good performance from him. Trae Young tonight, 15 and 10. Obviously, all-star snub, really. I'll start with that before we get back into the game. A lot of people were upset that Tyler Hero and Darius Garland got the bid over him. I think a lot of people look at, just there are some people who think Trae Young should be a 6-time All-Star right now, and he's only a 3-time All-Star. A lot of people think, Trae Young, and we've always talked about him having this narrative in the media and how people perceive him. This man was 5th in fan voting for guards. He was ahead of Cunningham and Garland, and he didn't make it. And even you can make an argument for LaMelo Ball. LaMelo was 1st in fan voting and didn't make it. Fan vote's supposed to count 50%, but clearly, I would think if you're first place in some type of vote, that means you're making the team. That must mean that the coaches and players or whoever else in media are really lowly rating those guys and just like almost putting them last. So now it cancels out the first place vote that LaMelo got, or it keeps Trae from getting into the reserve guards, because it's like, because I feel like with the NBA All-Star vote, it's a little weird because the players, and I don't know when they do it. I don't know when they stop voting, but in a way you kind of get an idea of where players are sitting in terms of the voting. And then I wonder if players look at that and think, oh, I don't think so-and-so should be in there, so I'm going to make sure that I'm putting him on the bottom of my list so he doesn't get in. Like, I really wonder if that thought process ever crosses the mind of some of these players who are voting and some of these coaches and some of these media guys who are voting. Like, I don't think he deserves to be in here, so I'm going to drop him down. Because it's crazy how Trae Young is not an All-Star. Apparently, by the time they had the date where they had to turn in their vote, Hawks still had a winning record. So it wasn't even like you could say Trae Young was losing at that time to say, oh yeah, he shouldn't get it. He had a winning record when they voted. And so clearly, again, the Trae Young narrative continues. Charles Barkley made mention of it tonight on TNT. A lot of people on Twitter make mention of it, saying, how is Trae Young not an All-Star? This is ridiculous. I feel like anytime we talk about USA basketball or the All-Star game, somebody's always talking about, how is Trae Young not in the picture? How is Trae Young giving you 20 and 10 and doing these numbers? And now Trae Young's making all these, it's not really history, but like, I'll see Trae's the first player to not make it with 25 and 10, first player to not make it with 28 and 10, the first player to not make it. And I'm just like, clearly history shows if you have these numbers, you make the All-Star team. And clearly, for some reason, Trae Young is not able to like continue that trend. Clearly, it's not viewed that way with him. And so, really sucks that Trae did not make it. But it is what it is. Obviously, if someone gets hurt, if someone is injured before the All-Star break, could lead to Trae getting into the All-Star game and then getting his 4th All-Star bid. Or would it be his 3rd? I would have to recheck that. But basically another bid. And it's one of those things where it's just like, man, it sucks for him. It sucks. Trade. And then obviously I know people are also going to say, listen, he doesn't get the respect from other people, from voters, because he's in Atlanta. Because it's Atlanta Hawks, he's just not going to get that respect. He's just not going to get that love. He's just not going to get that credit that he deserves because of the team he plays for, because we feel like the NBA is such a brand biased league where if you're not on the best team in the league or the biggest brands in the league, you're less likely to make it. You really have to do some incredible stuff to get there. So I think, because you'll see teams who are okay and then they'll have a guy who makes it, but then you'll have a team who a guy's balling out and doesn't make it. So that could be tough for sure. But tonight in this game, like I said, didn't have his greatest game, and Trae's been struggling. I mean, he hasn't been you know, he hasn't been Trae Young. Obviously, we've talked about how he's dealing with multiple injuries. He's dealing with, um, you know, he's had the hamstring, the rib contusion, the Achilles soreness all season long. People have said that Trae does not look as quick as he's done in previous years. He doesn't look as fast. He doesn't look like himself, the Trae Young that we know. He's had some amazing performances, even with the injuries and things of that nature. But I mean, I think this stretch of basketball has also really showed that Trae Young has just not looked great. And I think also that's also because of the weaknesses that the Atlanta Hawks have on the offensive end. Just makes it easier for defenses to really load in on Trae Young, and it's really affecting his game. And so you're seeing what we're seeing from him, and then you're like, wow, I guess Trae Young just isn't looking great. And so even though he had a double-double tonight, it's just 15 points. It's just like underwhelming for a Trae Young game, as much as you know the type of player that Trae Young is. So that's just that right there. Dyson Daniels, he had a good string of games recently. Only had 7 tonight, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Missed a lot of floaters at the rim. Something that he usually makes a lot of those now. Just didn't have a great game tonight with that. Only took 8 shots though, made 3. But obviously, you obviously could have used a little bit more from him. Okongwu finished with 14 and 7 and 4. I mean, realistically, the way Okongwu's played, Okongwu has been very feasible at that center spot. He's given you 13, 14 points, 7 rebounds. He's giving you a few assists a game, 6 to 11 from the field. Like, Okongwu's been fine. Like, Okongwu has been very just, he hasn't been like insane, but he also hasn't been bad. Like, there's moments where Clint like has like just bad performances, or he just is consistently like he gets your rebounds but like 6 points. Clint, Okongwu's pretty much been giving you something, and I think he's played well. I think, like I said, you have the people who gonna think, oh, he's the reason why the losing streak started. No, but I think he's done well in when he's been asked to do, for sure. Muhammad Gay, 16 minutes tonight, 8 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Again, he's I guess for this point on, he's the starting 4 for the rest of this. I'm assuming Muhammad Gay is the starter for the rest of the year. And it's crazy because my guy Keith, he's been on the show before. He brought this up on Twitter. He said, now that Rodney is playing in these garbage time minutes, he said, I wonder if Quinn just is sitting there and like, why did I have him starting for me in some games when I'm putting him now in as a garbage time player? But he also did follow that up and said maybe he didn't think Gay was ready. Because I said it's interesting that like Jalen goes down and now all of a sudden Gay is brought up to the roster. Now he's a starter. And I mean, people forget he is on a full NBA contract. So like he's not like on this restriction like the other two-way guys are, where he can only play so many main roster games. He is full NBA contract, so he's set. And that obviously showed you when they signed him to that contract when he got drafted a couple of years ago, how they felt about him, what they think he could be. This is really, like I've said multiple times on the pod, this is a great opportunity for him to show them that he can play. And Gay obviously has a ways to go offensively. I think that was always the biggest part of his game that you knew had the most growth to be made. You saw the potential. You saw, he hasn't shot the 3 well since he's been up, but it's something he can do. Very athletic guy, tall, lengthy kid, can dunk. He has elements where you're like, from a tangible standpoint and a skill set perspective, he can be a really good player. It's just him putting it together, getting more comfortable, getting that experience, and then taking that next step. Now it looks like he's going to play the rest of the season, and this is going to be a very valuable 30 or so games for him. However many games left, this is going to be extremely valuable for him. Because he'll now, be able to kind of show us that growth. If you haven't watched the Skyhawks, you'll be able to see it at this level. And you can see it now. Defensively, you can see the shot blocking, the rim. He's a tall guy. Like, he adds the size that we've said the Hawks have lacked for so long. Like, I before the season, we were talking about Muhammad Gay being the backup 4 and saying, you're going from Jalen Johnson to Muhammad Gay. And even though they're not the exact same player, they both can bring something that as a team, as an opposing team, you have something to be worried about. It's just about Gay getting to that point. And I'm thinking, too, this is also his chance to show Quinn, like, hey, I can be the backup 4 next year. I can back up Jalen next year. And I would absolutely love for him to show that. He's good on the boards, athletic kid. Like I said, you can see it. Great weak side defender. Just getting more comfortable with the rotations, the scheme, the defense, and what he's supposed to do offensively, getting more confidence in his offensive game, and then taking the next step. And I've said this too. I said that, these 3 games, there's a couple of games last year, even there in the summer league, where he just looked overwhelmed. Or you could tell he was like, a lot's going on. And now he hasn't seemed as overwhelmed. And so I'm really happy about that. Obviously, like I said, Hunter had a big game tonight. Let me talk about one of the biggest issues with the Hawks have right now. With the loss of Bogey and then Bogey struggles this year, Okongwu becoming a starter. Outside of DeAndre Hunter, you really don't have any bench production. After the first half tonight, the Hawks had 0 points from guys 7 through 10 because they ran a 10-man rotation tonight. 0 points from 4 players in the first half. Can't win like that. Like. Listen, if Trae went nuclear, Hunter went nuclear, Risacher went nuclear, that happens, right? But you only got 2 guys who played really well offensively. You need it more. And if you take away crunch time, Krejci and Garrison Matthews had 12 points. That's all you got from those 2 guys. Because we haven't talked about how Garrison Matthews has not been what he was about a month or 2 ago with the 3-point ball. Krejci has had a good month. I'll give him that. He struggled tonight. But, I mean, they really have a lack of bench production right now. And that's killing them. That puts so much pressure on the starters. Like, the problem with this roster is that if they lose certain people, it puts so much more pressure on the other people who can do certain things. They don't have another guy who could still do something to not make the pressure go all the way on that player. I've also said this. I would be completely for Dominique Barlow playing over Larry Nance. Like, Larry Nance gave you 0 points tonight. And Larry has been great when he's hit the 3, but Larry's also a defensive liability for them. I personally feel like Barlow can give you offense, and he's a better I really think Barlow has worked on his defensive game, and I know that was one of his knocks. I really think he's improved his defensive game. And I would love Quinn to just say, you know what, instead of Nance tonight, let's give Barlow the run. Let's make him the center. I would love to see that. Because I would want to see what Barlow can do when he's actually getting some real minutes. Because when he got real minutes, I think against Minnesota, he had like 11 points. So I'm like, if we're going young guys here, why is Barlow not in there? Let Barlow play. I'm big on Dominique Barlow. I just rather, let him show, let him show you if he can be someone you can trust next year. Listen, you're going to need a backup center for Onyeka Okongwu next year. If that's going to be your starting center. You got to know if because clearly Larry Nance probably ain't going to be here next year. Clint ain't going to be here next year. Why don't you play the guy who might be here next year and see if he can be that guy? You're probably going to waive Cody Zeller after the trade deadline if you don't trade him. So, Keaton's going to probably get that spot. And then you got a couple other guys trying to fight to potentially get a job next year. I'm just saying, I would like to see Dominique Barlow. That's me. But, yeah, like I said, Hawks tonight, just not great. They shot 46% from the field. That wasn't bad. And they shot, overall, not that bad. But, it's tough. So it is tough times in the neighborhood. I'll say that. And they actually shot above 30% tonight, actually. Had to go recheck the stats. 30%, 33% to be exact. So they didn't tie the record. But yeah. So like I said, not a great night for the Hawks. Trade deadline stuff. So Bogey mentioned again, multiple teams interested in Bogdan Bogdanovic. Stein, Fisher have both made reports today about, or Thursday about it. I think every sign and signal was pointing towards Bogey's last days in Atlanta. A lot of playoff teams are interested in Bogdanovic. I mean, the real key here with the Hawks is, what do you want? We've heard all these hyper. We've heard about all these different trades. We're hearing use of Nurkic as a potential possibility for the Hawks. They've had conversation with the Suns about him. What do the Hawks want? Do they want players or picks? That's the key here. What are the Hawks wanting? And I think that's something that will become more clear as time goes on. What do the Hawks want? Do they want players or do they want picks? Some of the names we've heard have been a little underwhelming, I'm sure, for some fans. But I mean, the Hawks only have who they have, and teams are only going to offer what they want to offer for those guys. Bogey is your most valuable guy because some people think he can still play, and just maybe getting a new situation will help him. I think a lot of people, and shout out to Stan Van Gundy, ball knower, talking about it on the broadcast. He said, listen, one of the reasons why the Hawks have been struggling at times this year is because Bogdanovic has not been the player that they've had in the previous few years. He's not been healthy. He struggled with his shot. When the guy who's been such an important piece for you off the bench is struggling, that's going to impact your game. And I think the Hawks are like, okay, listen, Bogey, you're getting older and you're struggling. We can't hope that you're going to come back next year and be better. Another year older. So we got to probably try to make a move now and try to see if we can get back for you. Which I don't blame the Hawks for that. So it'll be interesting to see what direction to go in with that and what they want to do. We'll obviously hear more as we get closer to that date. And so obviously I'll be up with you guys about that and seeing what's going on with Bogey, what's going on with the team. And just whatever new rumors come out about what trades they've been discussing with different teams, man. Because you're going to hear a lot of reports. Some of them are going to be smoke screens and some of them are going to be real. So we'll have to see, man. But like I said, I know it's tough times for Atlanta fans right now. 7 in a row. L's. Not easy, man. But, just got to keep playing. Try to see you win the next one, which is on Saturday. So against the Pacers. So first time I think we played them in the regular season this year. So we'll rock out, man. But if you enjoyed that Believe in Hawks episode, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like the video for sure. Leave a comment down below. Audio listeners, same thing. Rating, review, tell your friends about Believe in Hawks. Obviously, guys, I'll try to stay on top of anything that's coming out with the Atlanta Hawks, any trades, anything like that. Hopefully, I'm not working when that happens. But yeah, I'll try to be on top of everything I can when it comes to this team and be able to tell you guys what is happening, when is something happening, and the latest rumors that come from this next week ahead. So I appreciate you guys tuning in for the Believe in Hawks podcast. It's your boy Bryce Lewis. See you next time.